Thanks for having a look again. So far we've assessed my swing through a video, Trackman information, 3D information, ground force information, and now what I want to talk about today is how we're going to intervene into my swing to make it the way I want it, to make the consistency, get rid of that 1 or 2 out of 6 shots that sort of causing me some of the issues on the golf course. First thing I want to talk about is cause and effect. That's really the main focus of today's video, is the fact that, you know, we've discussed how the main symptom in my swing is this thrust forwards. And so it would be very tempting to go straight to there and try and work on that. But really, in this particular case, and in the majority of cases really, this is a symptom of something that's happened earlier on in the chain of events. And if you watched the video on the 3D stuff, what we talked about there was my body moved up and away. So it moved that way. Now, that really was one of the first things that happened on the 3D that we could see on the graph, that it was one of the first things that was actually happening, going wrong in my swing. And then what happened was, from there, my hands had to try and find plane again, but they couldn't continue that way, and then the body kept the hands on plane by going that way, which made the hands high, which then made me have to rotate and really manipulate the club face through the impact, which is, you know, that's more towards the end of the chain of events. But I want to go to the first point of breakdown of my technique, which really starts at, from a 3D point of view, it starts at my chest moving up and away. So what's causing that is really what I want to try to get to, and the first thing we're going to do to fix that particular motion for me is look at, okay, so in my particular case, my chest moves up and away, but my arms are what we call protracted a lot, and then they move this way. So once they move this way, what we've done mechanically here is we've created a bit of a blockage in movement. It's very hard for me to continue now rotating on the one plane of motion around a singular axis. So what the brain is very clever at doing is saying, okay, we'll do a work round, that's fine, it's all instinctive, but it goes, we'll find a way around this problem. And in my particular case, it's gone, okay, well, we can go, some people would go and add side bend to the lower back to get there. What mine has done from there, probably because of a lack of mobility in that area, but is that I'll go that way. That gets me around the problem. And then also what I've done, which is now visible from the video, we can just about see, is that my arms don't do that, and then my wrists actually go slightly, rather than going straight up, radial deviation that way, which is just straight wrist, straight up. Rather than going that way, mine goes slightly that way to keep the feeling. And here's someone who's been taught slightly positionally in the past, where they're saying, okay, we want to get the club in a certain position. So what you do is I find a way to get it there. So I know my arms aren't doing anything, but I go, well, I can do my wrists. I can get the wrists to work. And then you sort of get into that sort of position, and you think, well, that looks pretty good. But actually I've got there in not a very functional way, but in an aesthetic way, it's actually quite a good looking position. So I want to bring my forearms into it. So we're going to get forearm rotation, and then we're going to get the wrists working in a more vertical or radial fashion, radial deviation this way. And what that's going to start looking like is this. So we're going to start going that way more. And then as we bring it up, what we aesthetically will see is that there's a certain point in which I keep turning on this plane and it goes, okay, that's it. That's as far as it can go, and that is it. And then what we'll also see aesthetically, this arm will look in a much more, you know, people will say lots of phrases like connected, and really it just looks better aligned with the club rather than, you know, it would look more sort of loose and free previously. And then also the wrist, when it's radially deviated, will look more will look slightly like it's got a bit of flexion in it. So previously it would have looked really flat, but if we do it, if you do it like a dart throw, this is what radial deviation is there. That's it, that's what we want. And then when we go down, it'll look flatter. So that's the motion. So when we get to the top, depends how much motion you got, but it should look slightly that way. If, of course, radial deviation is a part of the way you swing. So look at Dustin Johnson's like that, but he has to manipulate and work the wrist very, very hard through the golf swing to compensate for that. So although he's made it work and it's brilliant from him, he's making his level of difficulty of his golf swing is much higher than someone who, say, would just do that. It's like throwing a dart like that. It's not as easy, but it's doable, and he's brilliant at it, so great. But I want to make the golf swing easier for me to repeat, and this is how I'm going to go about it. So I'm going to go off and practice posture. This is supination of the right arm, pronation of the left, and then radial deviation of the wrist. I'm just going to keep practicing that position, making that good, which is allowing me then actually more naturally to feel like, yeah, I can actually rotate now, staying more centered. So the actual movement that we've seen on the 3D motion capture was actually a reaction to my setup, and then, well, the chest was a reaction to my arms, and my arms were a reaction to my setup. So we go back to posture, and then we start to improve the function of the arms, and then the arms help improve the function of the chest, which we're hoping then is going to improve the function of the downswing and through to impact and our low hand, more passive club face position. So that's the first step. We're going to do that, and I'm going to practice that over the next week, and then so I'm going to try and get at least 3 hours of practice in. Should make it feel a bit more natural, and then we'll have another look at, we'll get it on the 3D machine, we'll have a look to see how that's affecting the numbers and see if it's moving in the right direction. Okay, thanks.